To casual passers-by, it may seem like just another raucous Toronto bar, a bit cramped and rough around the edges. But to music lovers, it's something of a shrine. The Horseshoe Tavern, affectionately known as The Shoe. In its 65 years, The Shoe has hosted a constellation of well-known and sometimes unexpected acts, from the Rolling Stones to the Police to Stompin' Tom Connors. 16 by 9's Alan Carter dropped by recently to tap into the memories that made The Shoe a legend.
Guys, take a peek at your ID there.
It's about to get really loud at Toronto's Horseshoe Tavern. Rumors of a secret show have spread like wildfire. And for those in the know, when that happens at The Shoe, it's bound to be big. It's here where countless musical moments have played out. The walls inside, plastered with newspaper clippings, pictures, and memorabilia, taking you on a journey through musical history, chronicling 65 years of legendary moments at this legendary tavern.
We had riots.
And he started to have sex with her. And then all hell broke loose.
We love coming back here and play.
Yeah, some crazy shows in this room. The legendary Horseshoe Tavern. The Shoe.
Why he bought the building, we have no idea.
It all started in 1947. Natalie Claremont's father, Jack Starr, bought the building at 368 Queen Street West in Toronto, then a desolate industrial area.
It was a restaurant and a bar. And I think it was significant because it was the first or second bar license.
Gary Claremont is Jack Starr's grandson. His family still owns the building.
I just remember being here in the restaurant on a matinee day, the place would be packed, and have a cheeseburger and french fries and listen to the music, and everybody's slapping the table, and there was a big dance floor. Have a good time.
Toronto in the 50s was a different place. The Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup. The Horseshoe was about twice the size. And construction workers, policemen, and even members of the notorious Boyd Gang, who dominated headlines with their brazen bank robberies and jailbreaks, were regular barflies. Good food and good music kept people coming back for more, and owner Jack Starr aimed to please, bringing in future superstars like Loretta Lynn or Conway Twitty, and one young down-and-out country singer from New Brunswick.
Well, he developed a special relationship with Stompin' Tom because initially when he brought him into play, he was only known probably in Newfoundland and PEI.
When Tom was living out of his guitar case, he said to Tom, I'd like you to play for a week. How much do you want to get paid? And Tom said, either $100 a week, oh, Mr. Starr, $100 a week, $125 a week. And Jack said, how about $150 a week? And Tom started to cry. That was everything for him, and maybe the start of his career.
Welcome once again, friends and neighbors, to the Horseshoe.
Stompin' Tom even filmed part of his 1973 documentary Across This Land in the Horseshoe, paying homage to the place where his career started. According to legend, it was also at the Shoe that he trademarked one very important characteristic.
He's playing night after night and pounding that boot on the stage, and Jack was a little concerned. He says, Tom, you know, you're kicking a hole in my stage, and put a piece of plywood down. And that may have become the trademark that Tom, when he plays at the end of the night, he'll tip that piece of plywood up and all the sawdust will run off it so that it wasn't kicking a hole in the stage.
By the mid-1970s, the Horseshoe was ready for a change. Country music was falling by the wayside, Jack Starr was retiring, and a musical revolution was on the rise.
I think the kids who make the music took back the music and started making good old-fashioned rock and roll.
In the midst of a very stale and staid city.
Those are the Garys, Gary Topp and Gary Cormier, music promoters who made headlines for being on the cutting edge of the industry. In 1978, they went in to breathe new life into the Shoe.
Let us spread our wings, as it were. You know, a lot of clubs wouldn't have given us carte blanche to book the type of talent that we wanted to book.
They were, you know, avant-garde jazz and punk rock to reggae to African to rhythm and blues to folk.
The B-52s, Etta James and Sun Ra, a new era took the stage, an eclectic mix of musical styles with one goal.
We wanted to see all these guys It's as simple as that.
One of those bands included a then unknown trio from England making their North American debut.
I think standing right about here and watching the police do their sound check and looking at each other saying, these guys are gonna really go somewhere.
The Police would go on to win Grammys and be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But back in 1978, they couldn't fill the room.
There were 19 people for 2 nights. The band felt so bad, they gave us back $100 on what we agreed to pay them.
The Gary's time at the Horseshoe would be short. After 8 months, they were asked to leave.
We decided to do a final 2-night blowout. The Friday night we called The Last Pogo, which was our punk version of The Last Waltz.
The lineup included the Scenics, the Vile Tones, Teenage Head, and an overcapacity crowd.
People kept pouring in. And, you know, after a while, you turned around and it's like, oh my God, like people are standing everywhere and they're standing on the tables.
Colin Brunton was just 23 when he caught what happened next in the documentary The Last Pogo. The real police shutting the show down.
And the next thing you know, it's like 800 people and they're losing their minds. Yeah, a lot of people were thrown into the old yellow cop cars out front and dragged off.
I mean, what do you expect? The police closed down the show, it's gonna be a riot.
The riot could have easily been the last night at the Horseshoe. In business for 30 years, it would have been a good run. But the shoe wasn't ready to shut its doors just yet.
Next on 16 by 9.
Probably the biggest night of my existence here at the Horseshoe Tavern.
Bringing down the house.
New York had CBGB's. Harlem has the Apollo Theater. In London, it's the 100 Club. On the corner of Queen and Spadina in Toronto, the Horseshoe Tavern has a legacy all its own.
You know, the fascinating thing about the Horseshoe is that it is still here. It opened as what this is in 1947. There's a hell of a history here.
That's Alan Cross, radio broadcaster, rock historian, and Horseshoe patron.
There aren't that many venues like this in the world, let alone in the city. It's because the average lifespan of a club isn't that long.
By the end of 1978, it looked as if it was curtains for the live music bar after a headline-grabbing riot had almost destroyed the place. The bar that once hosted acts like Stompin' Tom, The Police, and Etta James was on shaky ground, hitting a low point in the early 80s when it was reinvented as a 1950s dance club.
This was all boarded up and tablecloths and candles. It just wasn't the Horseshoe. And there wasn't, you know, the talent. It just wasn't happening.
That's when Kenny Sprackman was hired. By then, the space had been cut almost in half, so Kenny renovated and breathed new life into the worn-out shoe.
It's always been about music. We moved the cover to the back here. We opened up the back bar. We rejigged and reset the area up, and then I brought in all the talent.
Kenny wasted no time. He turned his focus to Canadian acts, developing young musicians destined to become stars.
And then we sort of got a taste for bigger and better things, bringing in the rodeos, the hips, the bare naked ladies. Jan Arden did her first showcase here. Katie Lang, they were all coming through here.
But not all the acts convinced Kenny from the get-go.
First time I ever saw Andrew Cash play, he played in a band called L'Étranger. It was the worst goddamn band I have ever heard.
We had our hearts in the right place, and that's really what this is all about. Eastern world, it is exploding.
Andrew Cash went on to find success with the Cash Brothers and performing with the Skydiggers. But he says his success on stage at the Horseshoe prepared him for a bigger audience as a federal MP in Ottawa.
This government takes the artists to the cleaners on the copyright bill now. Well, you know, when I'm up in the House of Commons, I oftentimes hear lots of yelling and say, well, listen, this is nothing like playing the Horseshoe, so there's no problem here.
There's also nothing like going to the Horseshoe. Chances are Teddy Fury will be behind the bar. After all, he's been there for 26 years.
Oh, yeah. I think at 30 we get the name tag and the uniform, so I'm pretty excited. That and my pension card, I think. Thank you, young mirth makers.
You don't tend bar for over a quarter of a century without collecting some memories. Teddy has seen it all, including one encounter at the pool table.
We heard this wild screaming coming from here. Right where you break on the pool table, there was this couple, and he dropped his pants and he had her on the thing and he was starting to have sex with her. And we had to break him up like two dogs in a schoolyard.
Another story for the history books, a secret show that became not so secret in 1997 when one of the biggest bands in the world rolled in.
Probably the biggest nightmare of my existence here at the Horseshoe Tavern.
Nightmare, because some people would say that was a highlight. I mean, it's the Rolling Stones in your club.
Dan Aykroyd was running around doing security. John Goodman, God bless him, was trying to give beers away from behind the bar, and the place was jammed, and it was just out of control.
Every venue gets its share of secret shows, but for some reason, the Horseshoe Tavern seems to get the majority of them over the years. Rolling Stones, for the tragically hip Blue Rodeo, you've had Bryan Adams and Melissa Etheridge. The list goes on and on.
Jeff Cohen took over for Kenny in the mid-1990s, and while some of music's biggest names have played there, he says maintaining the Horseshoe's legendary status is not easy.
What is it about this place? What is the secret sauce?
We can easily be really snotty and say, oh, we're the legendary Horseshoe Tavern, we've been here for 65 years, you know, everybody should just want to play here. We don't do that. I mean, we're out trying to find new artists all the time, so anything that's new.
The Horseshoe may have their finger on the pulse when looking for new talent, but what does it mean to talent to hit that small stage?
I'm trying to remember the first time I played the Horseshoe. It gets a little blurry, but it would have been 94 or 5.
Joel Plaskett cut his musical chops in the mid-90s with alternative band Thrush Hermit. Now he's a successful indie artist with his band Joel Plaskett Emergency.
You know, really, if you're going to get going in Canada, you're going to go and you're going to try and make a dent in Toronto, and the Horseshoe's kind of ground zero for that.
A far cry from the Horseshoe's humble beginnings, Ground Zero has become a hot piece of real estate, leaving founder Jack Starr's daughter and grandson with a decision to make.
We've had offers over the years, but this is one of the only things that you have from the past. I mean, everybody knows what this building means, and so we made the decision not to sell.
You know, we played every club in the city, and the Shoe on New Music Night was like kind of like the golden. You made it when you got there.
For the crowd that's gathered on a rainy Tuesday night for a secret show, they're about to get payback. A venue that holds under 500 will host a band used to playing in front of thousands.
It's kind of like back to basics and back to your roots. There's no stress involved. It's just a fun night.
Canadian rockers Billy Talent will play for free on the stage where their music career started in honor of the Horseshoe's anniversary.
Well! You guys ready? Let's do this shit.
Happy anniversary, Horseshoe. Happy birthday. And may there be 65 more glorious years.
Down, let's take it down. Raise up the hands on a stake. We will show no mercy on evolution's mistake. Change will have to wait if we can decide a fate. Self-appointed prophets when the doomsday charade. They preach about love, they teach about faith. All your beliefs are still rooted in hate. Horseshoe!
And that is our broadcast for tonight. I'm Carolyn Jarvis. From all of us here at 16 by 9, thanks for watching and have a great weekend.